You can actually find today that neither were at fault. Skiing is an interesting thing. We strap sticks on our legs at the top of a very high hill and go down for fun. It's breathtaking. I've done it. I love it. But it has inherent risks. So the back of every ski pass you've ever seen.
Judge, objection. You've excluded this inherent risk of skiing.
We referenced this, Your Honor. You said I could argue.
It applies to resorts and not to people.
No, the argument is improper, so overruled.
So inherent risks, you've seen it on the back of every ski pass, and even your own common sense says, hey, if I don't go down this hill right, I could actually kill myself. So skiing is different. It's even different than driving. I mean, we don't drive cars down hills, right? Down icy hills, but we do ski down icy hills. The Deer Valley guy would say, we're never icy at Deer Valley. But nevertheless, it's kind of a dangerous thing. And so you can actually say, no, don't get me wrong. I want Gwyneth paid for the hardship Mr. Sanderson caused her. He hit her, he hurt her, and he's not entitled to sue her. I'm sorry, he's entitled to be here today, but he's not entitled to be rewarded for hurting her. That's not how this country works. All right, James, let's see. Then if we go, if your answers to 1 and 3 are both no, you should not proceed further. So if you found not at fault, you're done. You go to the end and your foreperson signs it. But if you keep going, otherwise continue to 6, James. I couldn't do this without James, if you can't tell. What % of the fault to you assigned to Gwyneth Paltrow? So then you have to figure out a percentage. It's possible that both, so a lot of things aren't just so obvious, like gray and white, black and white. We would, obviously, if you get this far, we would want you to put 0 apportionment to her, Terry, 100%. I guess you could find that Gwyneth's entitled to 75 cents and not $1, believe it or not. Okay, then we keep going. James, whatever you can find here. What amount compensates Terry Sanders? And we just want you to go to 9 and give us our $1. There was a little issue raised about whether her attorney's fees could be added to that. The judges said, I'm going to deal with that. That's not in front of you. All right, so your topic is this $1. Believability of witnesses. This was one of your earlier instructions. How do I figure out who's telling the truth here? And I'm going to put Craig Ramon. First of all, Terry doesn't remember much. There was one just blatant misstatement in their closing, which was Terry could talk to a wall for 2 hours and have a pretty good conversation. That was before the incident. That was misrepresented as being after the incident. Every time that issue came up, I said, before? Yes, before. All right. Let's go to talking about evaluating witnesses. I'm telling you, if we were in law school and we had a class about eyewitness, how an claimed eyewitness actually sees what he thinks he sees, Craig Ramon would be the definition of a bad witness. And I'm going to give you some objective statements about that. He's at the end of the court. He says, I'm skiing. And there at the end, I'm colorblind. I have imperfect vision. I don't know what they're wearing. I'm looking at other things. I'm not focused on them. He said he hears and turns. Well, guess what? Eric Christensen, the ski instructor, who they accused of a cover-up, which was dismissed, heard and turned. They're the same. They heard and turned. Craig describes himself as an eyewitness. Eric said, I didn't see the collision. I just heard and turned. They saw the same things. Interestingly, Eric came right over, and now's appropriate time to watch our little fun video. I don't know if you like these animations, but we kind of put them together so that you guys can kind of envision all this information coming at you. So Eric Christensen, did you like the guy? The guy is like, oh my gosh, I love this guy. He's been doing it for 40 years. He teaches art on the side. He's been a lifelong resident. He's married to someone whose whole life is skiing. And he is not a liar. He is not someone who covers up. He is not someone who falsifies reports. All of those allegations were thrown out. So we're not dealing with Deer Valley. Interestingly, it's not just Ramon versus Christensen, because all the Deer Valley people, do you remember the cool Whitney who took the toboggan woman? I mean, she's an amazing witness. She's up there, oh, I'm assessing things all left and right, you know, nothing, but that's a little different. So we're gonna play this, and I think Moses is in orange, and there's Terry. So Eric Christensen says he sees Terry out of the corner of his eye. Well, he looks and sees, because he's in charge of sort of protecting these kids. So he says he's always looking up the mountain, and then he hears and turns, and then the next view, the next one. By the way, no one but Craig has the guy spread eagle with his head down the hill. There's no facial damage to his face. His skis stayed on. You've heard from these structural bioengineering people. If he came and got hit like Craig described, his skis would have popped right off. You don't keep your skis when you get blown. Sanderson says he was airborne, that he was flying. First of all, I'm not going to get into the weight, have him sit on scales, but twice, by the way, not once, twice Mr. Sanderson said I'm 3 inches shorter and 15 pounds lighter. We're not talking about today, we're talking about then. Then he was 3 inches. I don't know if he shrunk 3 inches since then, but he described himself as pudgy. He's coming downhill at a faster pace. I mean, anyway, the structural engineering people, which is kind of interesting, not structural, biomedical engineering people. I don't know if you got bored in that part or was interested, but I'm telling you, the science does not work for Craig's theory. Okay, so we're gonna play this. Mr. Christensen, am I in your way, Judge?
No.
There's Moses, Carrie Oaks, Apple. It's a little hard to absorb, but here's Gwyneth, and there's Sanderson. Now, let me tell you what Sanderson said, and he said it just at the end of the day yesterday. I said, tell me what's going on right before the incident. He said there was a lady on his left that was kind of tentative. So I deliberately, I think I said, passing on the right. Pretty sure I did. So there's the woman he describes in green. And he's trying to he's watching her. He is blind in his right eye. He said, I use that term loosely. He's an optometrist, for heaven's sakes. He's blind in that eye from a stroke. He has helped him contribute to his retirement. Okay, so he's watching, and imagine this. I'm blind in my right eye, and I'm really mindful of not hitting this woman to the left of me. And then he said, Nobody could have passed on my left except the gal I just passed. So that gal I was real conscious of because I still worried about her. And so as I went past her, I went inches per second past her. I just remember it took forever for me to get past her, and there were skis. And then that's when the collision happened. All right, so maybe run it one last time, James. So he's looking to his left with a blind right eye to make sure he doesn't hit the woman. He's looking to his left, and what happens? Gwyneth described, and praise to the judge for not letting this be reenacted with Gwyneth and being assaulted in front of us all. She is skiing, and two skis come in between her, and this is not a big hill. By the way, I mean, these are kind of photographs. This isn't just claymation here. And comes in, and she's like, what is happening? They're not going that fast, but Terry's going faster because his skis are coming in between her. It's because he's looking with his one, by the way, he has like half an eye because he has a cataract in the left eye, hearing's shot, and he says, I'm getting too old. I can't do everything I can. Well, I mean, I stopped playing church basketball after my knee injury. I'm like, I love it, but I can't do it anymore. Okay, so sometimes we have to give things up, especially when we're 76 years old. I'm sorry. I mean, that's life. But he comes in between her legs. She's going, what is going on here? It's not like a ski collision hit, you're out. And he's grunting, his body's against her. She's thinking, am I being assaulted? Like, because this isn't really a ski collision. And then they go for a little while. She said spooning, and whatever the next next animation would be, James. And then they go to their right. Now, I don't know, you've heard the ribs issue. By the way, if you're 76 with osteoporosis, you can break your ribs. You may see, and this record's in your documents, these weren't dramatic breaks. I mean, two were not even distended, dislocated. What's the right word? Displaced. Thank you. Two were not displaced, and two were just very minor displaced. Did they hurt? I'm sure they hurt them. I'm sure they did. All right, so she is on top. Eric Christensen said she was on top, and their skis are intertwined. And what is she doing? She's like, okay, I see I'm not being assaulted. And he may well have hit his head. He does have a helmet on. So does she, by the way. Craig Ramon is like, no helmet. He tried to change his testimony on the stand, but I had questioned him like 5 years earlier. No, she didn't have, I was really surprised. No helmet, no mask. Give me a break. For anonymity purposes as well as safety, this is a person skiing with her kids. She's pretty focused on safety. Let me just tell you that. All right. So what's the first thing does? Eric Christensen, is this the last one? Is this the last of the animations?
Only 3 admitted, Judge.
Pardon me?
Only 3 were admitted.
I think there were 5.
3 full ones.
3.
Whatever you can take us to next.
Well, but you've already shown 3.
There were 3 videos that were
Eric.
That were entered in their total, and then there were 2 only partial. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So whatever you can give me.
2 partials that didn't show the actual impact.
Only Craig has their heads downhill. Moses, who you'd love him if he's a cute little 16-year-old now. But we only got to hear him. He skis over because he doesn't hear anything, but his instructor comes over. He comes over and he sees his mom on the ground. Now downhill because she's gotten away from this guy. Okay, I'm safe. The idea of an assault just entered her mind, she said, for a couple seconds, because she's going, what's going on? This is the overhead view, and run it as you can. Here's Miss Paltrow. Apple, Moses. Here's Miss Paltrow. Here's the beginning skier woman. Here's Sanderson. And she's making these small turns on the right. He's making big turns. He's a lot faster. He's a lot more advanced skier, I should say. All right. Here's Christensen. You remember we placed him. Carrie Oakes went on ahead with Apple. Apple told me she heard a commotion, but she was hangry for French fries, and she just wanted to get down the hill. Moses is here, and so there we go. Okay, any other animations? Looking uphill. Paltrow in black. Sanderson. Beginning skier in green. Woman. Watch Sanderson. And then we're done. So it's probably that third one, that two back, that's probably the most powerful of them in terms of showing you the layout. All right, how am I doing on time, folks? I want to leave James 10 or 15 minutes.
30 minutes so far.
Thanks. So I'm gonna 10 after. Thanks, Judge. After they've separated, Brad Falchuk comes up, she skis down, but there's then this period of time. So here's Eric Christensen. Eric Christensen said, I came over to find out what had happened. They say he came over to bully him. Deer Valley employees who bully their guests get fired. He's been there 40 years. You could see if his grandfatherly demeanor makes sense under Craig Ramon's story. It doesn't. It doesn't. Eric comes over and he says, first thing I'm doing, I'm taking off skis. Remember, under all stories, no skis came off. That tells you something about the manner of the collision, doesn't it? It wasn't like Ramon describes, flat out straight. By the way, Ramon, oh my gosh, he says he's out cold for 2 or more minutes. Do you know what did you do about it? Nothing. Nothing. Could you imagine looking at an unconscious person, splayed out, head down, skis on, for over 2 minutes? Could you imagine? I'm like, did you call 911? Did you check for breathing? No. Yeah. None of that. I mean, good grief. Give me a break. All right. Eric Christensen comes over and says, okay, let's take skis off. Remember, he had some personal knowledge because he knew kind of where Gwyneth was, and he kind of knew where Eric Christensen was. He knew where they were, downhill versus uphill, and he knew their skill level. He could tell, he said he could tell because Mr. Sanderson was an advanced skier because he didn't slide. I didn't really know this, but if you do kind of, you skiers will maybe know. If you can work your edges and you don't slide, apparently that means you're a more advanced skier. Okay, so he comes over, he's trying to figure out what's going on, but he actually knows some things. Gwyneth is pissed off. If you hit someone, do you yell at the person you just hit? No. The hittee, and I've been hit skiing, is usually the unhappy one. But she recognizes these things happen until he says, did you hit me? And now she's mad because not only has he hurt her and hit her, but now he's saying, no, I don't think I think you caused this. And then she's like, are you kidding me? You just ran in my effing back. And Moses heard it. Moses heard it. All right. So then, Christensen, who I think is just a fabulous witness. I think everything he said is just utterly true. It's consistent with everything. He took off skis. I said, was Sanderson ever out cold? No. If he was, it would have been like that. Gwyneth, was he out cold for 2 minutes? No, he wasn't out cold at all. Don't you think people would be going like crazy if there was a man splayed out on Deer Valley, head down, out cold for minutes? That's not a believable story. Eric Christensen now is engaging people. Gwyneth's mad, but she's okay in the sense that she doesn't need help. She can still ski, but she said her knee, which she'd already had surgery on, hurt, and she has sustained a blow. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been hit, even if you're in a football game and you're all padded up. She had sustained a blow. She was upset. And then this idea of him not sort of, she says, you know, you just did this. And then what did he say? I'm sorry. Does the person who got hit say they're sorry? No. The hitter says, I'm sorry. And he said it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, now she's okay. Okay, he's not denying the stupid thing he just did. But, okay, now we got to sit around and kind of we'll sort things out. Then Christensen goes to Sanderson. Tell me what you want to say. And he said, she appeared right in front of me. That's what he said in his report. She appeared right in front of me. That's consistent with Gwyneth being mad and saying, you just skied into my effing back. And it's consistent with Christensen seeing kind of what was going on. He was the uphill skier. He knew that. And there you go.